the rulings over you. And then the scripture speaks of that you will be punished 7 more times for your sin. This is why a European and a black man or Israelite can commit the same crime, but we would be punished 7 more times. We would get longer sentences. We would get harsher punishment. It ain't just the system punishing us, but it's the breaking of the covenant that was spoken of before time that we're dealing with. And our disposition or our reason is supposed to be, why is this happening? Why is this happening to us? That would lead us back to who we are as a people. All right, so you might ask, I understand the curses of Israel, but what did this have to do with the Messiah? What did this have to do with who the scriptures call Yahusha, who the world called Jesus? Now you may wonder and say that I'm redeemed from the curse of the law. Ain't no curse upon me. But you still understand that you have the curses of Adam upon your lineage. Women are still having pain when they have babies. Men are still working by the sweat of their brow. It will come a time that we right now we've been sealed, but we will be redeemed from these curses where sin will be no more. But what did Yahusha say? He said, you'll be led into captivity into all nations. But how does this relate to us? Remember, when they asked, who do you want, Barabbas or Yahusha? They said, give us Barabbas. And they said, let his blood be upon us. They should have left it right there. But they said, let his blood be upon us and our lineage, our children, future generations. That what gave us what? That curse of innocent blood that would pass down, where the sword wouldn't leave our house. So how did it materialize upon us? Just as he was hung on a tree, we was hung on trees. Just as he was beat with 40 stripes, that was the minimum of stripes that we got beat with when we would mess up. Just as he was sold by his brothers, sold by his disciples, we were sold by our brothers into captivity.
So were the Bantus scattered? Or were the Bantus sold to Grecians? In other words, Europeans? Let's think about this. See, these facts are not lost in history, but actually substantiated. European and Islamic explorers, even slave traders, heavily documented this truth. Even Theodore Parfit, a modern-day historian, discovered the following pattern when researching the first-hand accounts of European travelers in West Africa in the 15, 16, 17, even 1800s. That he wrote in his book, Black Jews in Africa and in the Americas. Ethnographers, missionaries, colonial civil service, and travelers time and time again maintain that African tribes, including the Xhosa, Sai, Yoruba, Shona, Igbo, Zulu, Hottentot, Tutsis, Ashantis, and many more, practiced Hebrew customs, spoke partially Hebrew languages, and were of Hebrew biological origin of the seed of Abraham. This is one of the developments that has fed to the creation of a worldwide phenomenon of Black Judaism. Or like in William Armistead's 1848 book, A Tribute to a Negro. Quote, a remarkable fact in the history of Luango, in the empires of Congo, is that the country, according to a statement that was fully credited by Oldethorpe himself, a writer of most correct judgment and unimpeachable veracity, contains that Jews settled in it, who retained their religious rights and distinct habits, which kept themselves isolated from other nations. Though thus separate from the African population, they are black and resemble the other Negroes in every respect to physical character. It is possibly An allusion to this case that Pennington in 1827 wrote in his textbooks, saying the descendants of a colony of Jews originally from Judea settled on the coast of Africa are black. Maurice Fishburne, in his 1911 book, The Jews, A Study of Race and Environment, wrote that, quote, it is stated that the Falashas, or Ethiopian Jews, are not the only Jews of the Negro race. Bastian speaks of the Negro Jews living in the Luango coast of Western Africa. They are called Mavambu, or Judeos. They are on the whole a fair-looking race, says Bastian. They are more serious and restrained than the rest of the Negroes, although in other places they are despised. Here they take a dominating position, or at least such as to be respected and partially even feared, because they are rich and have most of the commerce in their hands. The same author claims that though they're of a Negro race, still he detected Semitic facial features in their phenotypes. Even in Madagascar, a traveler has discovered Jews. Sibri mentions that the Afimbo on the east coast of that island he met, who called themselves Zafi Ibrahim, or descendants of Abraham, who claimed to be altogether Jews, but I could not detect any difference in the color. Remember Billy the Jew in Charleston, who was from Madagascar, who said he's from a tribe of Rechabites? Just saying. Mark Conrad in the 1700s wrote in his book, Universal Geography, or the Description of All Parts of the World, that, quote, a fact worthy of attention of the travelers is that, according to Odenthorpe, in the kingdom of Luango contains black Jews, scattered throughout the country. They are despised by the Negroes, who do not even design to eat with them. They are occupied in trade and keep the Sabbath so strictly that they do not even converse on that day. They have a separate burying ground, very far from their habitation. The tombs are constructed with masonry and ornamented with Hebrew inscriptions, the singularity of which excites the laughter of the Negroes, who discern in only serpents like lizards or other reptiles. Notice the reoccurring theme of the Congo in these quotes from Europeans. See, the Kingdom of Congo is joined at the hip with Hebraic tradition, custom, and language, which at one point was widely known amongst European and Arab explorers, missionaries, cartographers, etc. For example, the Luba people, one of the least documented but largest areas in the Congo at one point was the Luba Empire, or Luba land. The Luba have a tribe amongst the people called the Baluba. After visiting and researching the Luba on his quest for the lost tribes, famed British historian and author Dr. Tudor Parfitt had this to say about them in his book, The Jews of Ethiopia. Quote, northward of Katanga lives one of the greatest tribes of Central Africa, the Baluba, who are of undoubted Semitic origin. Hold up, let me say that again. Who are of undoubted Semitic origin. The name Baluba means lost tribe, and their language and their customs have many Hebrew affinities. Their name for an idea of God, their word for water and people, and many other words and ideas show their Semitic strain. Well, let's see if we can find out where he got that from. Let's look at a few Hebrew words and compare it with the Baluba, Chaluba dialect. Let's see if they line up. Abba in Hebrew, meaning father. In Chaluba, Abe. Yah, the name of the God of the Bible.